We're going to talk about criminality for a little bit. So I was going to start with the notion of hate crimes, which is not something that's really talked about a lot. And before we get to that point, I want to talk about the difference between rates and occurrence. So normally when you have conversations about black criminality, especially on these news circuits, they want to talk about the rates at which black people are committing crimes. And basically what that means is a number of persons per 1,000 population. So it is true that in most cases, when you compare the rates of occurrence, that the rates are higher for black people committing crimes than for their white counterparts. But when you look at the actual raw numbers, you find a very different story. And that is, with the exception of manslaughter and non-negligent homicide and robbery, white people commit more crimes than black people in every single type of crime. And it's a big change, like 200 to 500% more crimes committed in most crimes.
Okay. So what crimes do black people commit the most?
So let's take a look at that.
It's a government site, y'all, too, looking at these stats.
So I am on the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Justice Programs, Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquent Prevention. And this is their statistical briefing book. Again, government statistics have a 2 to 4 year lag. So I'm looking at statistics for 2020. There were 7,632,470 crimes committed in 2020, of which 5,335,610 were committed by white people. And only 1,992,510 were committed by black people.
Okay.
They literally commit 4 times the amount of crime that we do.
And how many more times do they outpopulate us, though?
They've always outpopulated us.
Yeah.
So whites comprise around 60.1% of the U.S. population. Blacks comprise about 13.9% of the U.S. population.
Okay.
Which is why the rates, when you try and use the statistic in that vein, are so much higher for blacks. There's less of us.
Right.
When you look at the raw numbers, you find that the jails and all the offenses, white people.
Yeah, no, it's true. That's my first time seeing something like that, honestly.
So you asked earlier, what is the crime we kind of commit the most?
I know it's drugs. Got to be some drug shit.
It's actually not. It is all other offenses except for traffic. So other than these we have 556,680 occurrences of anything else other than violent crimes, property crime, curfew and loitering, vagrancy, disorderly conduct, drunkenness, liquor laws, driving under the influence, offenses against family and children. That's a big one because we always have a lot of people saying that black men are beating up people left and right. That's not true. The violence is actually decidedly in the fact of white people. White people commit violence against their friends, family and children at 3.5 times the number of black people. So there were 59,400 offenses overall in 2020, of which 40,520 were whites.
Wow.
It's statistically rare in the black community. Now you're talking about 47.2 million people, and it only happened 14,220 times.
Yeah.
It almost never happens in our community.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that it doesn't happen, because that's the conversation you're going to get for people that just want to be didactic or just, a denier of anything, but the numbers are not that large.
Okay. So put in the summary what these numbers are actually saying. If you can go, I don't want to say go row by row because that's a lot of rows.
Sure.